Bhusana Balaba Girivardhare Yasodanandana Vrachatana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Vihare Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Vihare Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhare Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhare Yasodanandana Vrachatana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihare Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhare Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhare Yasodanandana Vrachatana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Jayon Vishnupat Paramahamsa Vacharya Shishima Angre Sesi Bhakti Vedanta Samadasya Bhupat Ki Ananda Kudi Vaishnava Vindike Jai Namacharya Thakur Ki Jai Prem Saga Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasili Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Guru Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kuni Viran Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Narvitam Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulasi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktandi Ki Jai Gaura Pramanandi. All glories to the assembly devotees, all glories to the assembly devotees, all glories to the assembly devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada. So, wir lesen wieder weiter aus dem Transcendental Diary von Hari Sauri Prabhu. So Prabhupada keeps on staying in Vrindavan Dham. I made the point that any form of education is indoctrination. Whatever you teach someone, you teach according to whatever you see as a correct value. Prabhupada agreed, yes, the child goes to the school. His brain is packed up. I shall play all day. He likes to play, but it is indoctrination that no, you should read. You must become graduate. Education is required. The child wants to play, but we have to educate him that no, play is not all. You have to be educated. Similarly, this animal life, eating, sleeping, mating, this is already there. No, we say, not only this, we have to realize God. This kind of brainwash is required. If we do not understand God, then what is the difference between you and dog? He knows how to eat, how to sleep. He doesn't require any higher education. How to eat. Everyone knows how to eat, how to use sex. Nobody requires any university education. When the animals enjoy sex, they know which part of the body has to be used. There's no need of education. He knows it. And these rascals, they are presenting Freud as philosophy, sex. Just see how they are wasting time. When I responded that nowadays there are so many books on sex education, Prabhupada told a little story. One man was canvassing, hawking. So he was saying, here is a book of cow protection. He has written one book to take care of the cows. So one old man called him, what you are selling? Now I am selling this book. What is this book? Maintaining the cow. So why you are selling? First of all, give this book to your mother because you are no better than cow. So she will learn how to give you protection. That means he wanted to impose upon him that cow protection doesn't require any education. You have written a book, so you are such a rascal, cow intelligence. Better give this book to your mother. She will maintain you. Don't sell it. Everyone knows how to give cow protection. So similarly, this sex literature, there's no need of sex literature. Sex literature is there in Sanskrit also. That is how to restrict sex. So what purpose you should indulge in sex? That is called Kama Shastra, or Kama Sutra, better known as Kama Sutra. Then he told me another anecdote, an experience he had while traveling during his household life. I have seen this French philosophy became so prominent that sometimes in the year 1940s, maybe, so one young woman was traveling and another young man was traveling. So they began to discuss about sex very openly, and both of them unknown. Still, they engaged themselves in discussing the sex literature without any shame. Young boy, young girl. They began to discuss on sex openly as scientific. What is this scientific? I asked, a bit puzzled. Prabhupada again chuckled and with a good deal of sarcasm got down to the real point. Scientific means after discussing for some time, you propose that let us enjoy sex. That's all. It is common that in your country, unknown girl, unknown boy, and talk for some time. Let us go to some restaurant, and then talk more intimately, and then sex. I agreed from my own previous practical experience. That is the whole social system. The only reason they go to the dance is to pick up some woman for sex life. That's all. Most of my friends used to go out specifically to find some woman to have sex. Yes, Prabhupada rejoined. This is dancing club. This dancing club means this. Hare Krishna. Any question? Any comment? Paul was mentioning Freud. This Freud philosophy is all centered around sex life. That's what Freud's philosophy is all about. That sex life is the most important in life, and everything is centered, turned around, circled around sex life. So, whereas when you become a devotee, as we have seen, sex life becomes less important. Because, why is this? Because devotees actually appreciate something superior. How is it? Superior, something superior. Yeah. So life is not just about eating, sleeping, mating, or sex life and defending, but it has a deeper meaning. Deeper meaning to liberate the soul from all this engagement in the material world by controlling the senses and the mind. That's all about. And we don't, depress the mind or just control the senses without any further occupation. But actually, we are in a very, very fortunate position that we have a real alternative for all this material life. Just like I mentioned many times, Prabhupada said that anything has its value. Everything has its value, but only if you know how to use it properly. They don't use things properly. Just like we're using this microphone for Krishna. We're using the kitchen, we have an excellent kitchen, so much equipment and all that, to cook prasad and to serve the devotees and offer the prasad, offer the bhoga, not the prasad, offer the bhoga to the deities. We have a car also. I remember when we became devotees, in the beginning we thought this is all materialism, like car and this and that, and pay rent and live in an apartment, better to live in the park, kind of. Yeah, but then Prabhupada gave life its real meaning, that everything which should be focused or centered around Krishna, Krishna consciousness. This is such an important term, Krishna consciousness. It's not that we depressing consciousness, but actually we are using our consciousness to serve Krishna, to be Krishna conscious, Krishna centered. And because it's a natural center, it's not artificial, it's not invented, and not a speculation, it actually works. It actually works. We become more and more Krishna conscious by getting up early, coming to Mangalarti, and all these different activities that we, it's so important. This sadhana, this sadhana bhakti, even though you might not have had taste yet, but by sadhana bhakti, we're just doing it. We become Krishna conscious. We make advancement in Krishna consciousness and in God consciousness, and Krishna becomes a reality. A reality. Material life. I just heard a class of Prabhupada where Prabhupada said that nirvishesha. Nirvishesha. That's part of the second mantra that we always chant for Srila Prabhupada. Nirvishesha. This is actually impersonalism and sunyavadi. Sunyavadi means void. And then Prabhupada was speaking about Buddhism. That Buddhists, they have this concept that beyond the material manifestation there's nothing, void. And actually everything started from the void. Just like they have this concept of Big Bang. Out of nothing comes a Big Bang. Bah! And all of a sudden everything is there. This is ridiculous. Or they have this concept that everything comes from the original soup. There was a soup from where everything is coming. Yeah? And Prabhupada used to always say, and where does the soup come from? Yeah? Just like Prabhupada said, soup means somebody's cooking it. Yeah? There's no soup without anybody cooking it. And that's why so many so-called scientists are attracted to the Buddhist philosophy, become Buddhists. You know, I don't know now, but years ago it became very popular, Buddhism, and it's still very much respected somehow. You know, Buddhism. When somebody's Buddhist, he's Buddhist. But it's actually not a very intelligent philosophy, because in German they have this saying, "Nichts kommt von nichts." No? Everything comes from something. No? Anyway, and also impersonalism. No? But both had a purpose of propagating this philosophy. No? Buddha simply actually, his teaching was ahimsa, non-violence. He wanted to stop the killing of animals, unnecessary killing of animals. That's what. Because unless you stop killing animals, how can you understand anything else? It's so sinful to kill animals. And if you engage in these sinful activities, especially killing, it's the most heavy of all the sinful activities. To give pain or kill other living entities. Yeah? With this, Prabhupada many times says that if you eat meat, you cannot understand God. If you accomplish it, what is that?
Accomplice? Accomplice?
Yes, accomplice. Of the killing of animals, you cannot understand God. And that's why all these people who call themselves religious, and they eat meat, they have a very unclear concept of God. Ask them, what is God? And it becomes a very abstract thing. Or mental thing, sentimental thing. Because there's no real philosophy, there's no real knowledge there. Just like the person who kills the animal, who raises the animal to sell it, to kill, the person who sells it, then the person who buys the animal to kill it, the person who sells the meat, and somebody who's cooked the meat, who serves the meat, and the person who eats the meat. They're all accomplices. And none of them can understand what is God, actually. And as simple as that. I don't know how I got there now. From Prabhupada. Anyway, any questions regarding this? Yeah, better.
I sometimes heard about devotees working in a restaurant where they also sell meat. Is it then like breaking the principles, or?
He's accomplice, yes. Cómplice in Spanish. I don't know. What is it in English again?
Accomplice.
Accomplice. Why you ask?
Well, some senior devotees said if there's no other way to make money, then sometimes it can be okay if you get the results of Krishna, and to work in a restaurant where you also have to serve meat.
Yeah. You're sitting on the cash box on the supermarket. People are buying meat, and you taking part in it, selling the meat. Of course, you're also implicated.
I think it was because you were saying.
But now comes the but man.
No,
but
I'm just recognizing that I couldn't remember, but I now remember that. I think I remembered now why you were coming to this point, because you were talking about the Christianity, that they are using not the things in the service of the Lord, and we are using everything in the service of the Lord.
Actually, Christianity is not what is today. You know,
but actually,
the first Christians, they were also vegetarians. The Aramaic people, notice with the Aramaeans, they were also vegetarians. And our German Pope, who's in retirement now, he admitted years back. He said yes, the first Christians were vegetarians. And now everyone is becoming vegetarian, especially intelligent people. They're becoming vegetarians. I remember when this whole thing started with yoga. So many young people would go and make yoga, practice yoga, and seeing this, the church has also started give classes on yoga to not lose these people, these young people.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And they did many other things. And I don't know here, but in America. In America, they also had bingo in the churches. Bingo, no? Bingo in the churches, yeah. To not lose people, so they would come to the church, they had bingo. And sooner or later the church will also see, all these people are going away, they're vegetarians. Maybe we should also have a vegetarian kitchen for them so that they come back. And I saw in one place, I arrived somewhere in some place at the airport and the devotees didn't come, so I had to go take a bus and go to the temple. And as I was walking, the last piece I was walking, I saw a Christian place, and they were all dancing like this. First I thought, these are devotees, no? And then I came closer and I saw, no, they were not. No? Anyway, and then well, this same event. And then I came to the temple, and I noticed this was not a ISKCON temple. This was some other temple, some I say Gaudiya temple or something like that. Because when I was at the airport waiting, I didn't have the address of the temple either, nor telephone, and nobody came. They had forgotten. They thought it was the next day that I arrived. So at the airport, I tried to find the address, and somebody said, "Yeah, Hare Krishna." Yeah, and he sent me to the Gaudiya Math. So they were surprised. Well, they didn't know me, I kind of, and they gave me the address of the temple in the end. And then I arrived at the temple. I took a bus again and went to the temple. And when I got off the bus, I all of a sudden I saw a devotee who was just closing the door of the temple, and going out. Yeah. And I go, so they realized that it was not the next day, but it was actually this day. Anyway, I don't want to talk so much about this. So, no questions, no more questions.
Actually, I've met a Christian. He was over there in the Bahnhofstrasse near the train station, and he had like a big car. I told him.
Car?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's very expensive. And then I told him, "Are you really religious?" And then he said, and he was preaching to me then that he's using this in the service of the Lord because he's now driving to what is it called? Yeah, to church. So then we had a little discussion. He was, we are now in contact, and maybe he comes to the temple also.
Yeah, good. Actually, they're all ignorant. That ignorance is. They don't have, same education, same knowledge as we have. So, welcher Vers war das noch jetzt hier?
1700.
Okay. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we're reading from the 5th canto. Text 17, no? Well,
Yes, sir.
yes. So reading from the 5th canto, the characteristics of Rishabdev. Dravya, Deshakala, Vaya, Shadardvik, Vividhodeshopachitai, Sadavair, Api, Kratubi, Yatopadesham, Shatakritva Iyaja, Dravya, the ingredients for performing yajna. Desha, the particular place, a holy place or a temple. Kala, the suitable time, such as springtime. Vaya, the age, specifically youth. Shraddha, faith in goodness, not in passion and ignorance. Ritvik, the priest. Vividha Udesha, worshipping different demigods for different purposes. Upachitai, enriched by. Saravai, all kinds of. Api, certainly. Kratubi, by sacrificial ceremonies. Yatha, Upadesham, according to the instruction. Satakrita, 100 times. Iyaja, he worshipped. Translation of the verse. Lord Rishabdeva performed all kinds of sacrifices 100 times according to the instructions of the Vedic literatures. Thus he satisfied Lord Vishnu in every respect. All the rituals were enriched by first-class ingredients. They were executed in holy places according to the proper time by priests who were all young and faithful. In this way, Lord Vishnu was worshipped, and the prasad was offered to all the demigods. Thus, the functions and festivals were all successful. It is said, Kaumara charet pragyo dharman Bhagavatam iha. Bhagavatam 7:6-1. A ritual should be performed by young men, even boys, at a tender age, in order for the ritual to be performed successfully. From childhood, people should be trained in Vedic culture, especially in devotional service. In this way, one can perfect one's life. A Vaishnava does not disrespect the demigods, but on the other hand, he is not so foolish that he accepts each and every demigod as a Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is master of all demigods. Therefore, the demigods are his servants. The Vaishnava accepts them as servants of the Supreme Lord, and he worships them directly. In the Brahma Samhita, the important demigods, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and even the incarnations and expansions of Lord Krishna, like Mahavishnu, Gaudakashai Vishnu, and all the other Vishnu Tattvas as well as the Shakti Tattvas, like Durga Devi, are all worshipped by the process of worshipping Govinda with the words Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. A Vaishnava worships the demigods in relation to Govinda, not independently. Vaishnavas are not so foolish that they consider the demigods independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Ara Sava Britya. The Supreme Master is Krishna, and all others are his servants. Repeating the verse, Lord Rishabdeva performed all kinds of sacrifices 100 times according to the instructions of the Vedic literatures. Thus he satisfied Lord Vishnu in every respect. All the rituals were enriched by first-class ingredients. They were executed in holy places according to the proper time by priests who were all young and faithful. In this way, Lord Vishnu was worshipped, and the prasad was offered to all the demigods. Thus, the functions and festivals were all successful. So it's mentioned here that Lord Rishabdev, first of all, he was a king. It says here he performed all kinds of sacrifice 100 times. He was making sure that everything was done properly, especially the sacrifices. There's different processes, as we know, according to the Yuga Dharmas. And every Yuga, there's a specific process to make us successful in life. To achieve, like as Prabhupada mentioned here, devotion of Krishna, which is actually the ultimate goal of all the Vedic injunctions and so many principles and so much philosophy and all that one finally surrenders to Krishna. Not just surrenders to Krishna, but actually reawakens the pure love for God within the heart. This is the whole purpose of all the rules and regulations. There's so many rules and regulations, so many books of knowledge, but in the end, one has to, in order to be to become successful, one has to reawaken our dormant love in the heart. This is actually spiritual. There's so many, and also all these regulations, like the Varnashrama Dharma and all these, which help us to regulate all our duties and all our natural tendencies, all this. They are also meant for higher purpose. And that's why Prabhupada mentions here that the Brahmins, they were also very qualified. Not just Rishabdev didn't pay people to perform, but actually they were Brahmins. They were, adorned with all the first-class qualities. Ultimately, Prabhupada says here that it should be performed by young Brahmins, and not just because they're young, but because they're properly educated. Like Prahlad Maharaj, when he inspired his college,
colleagues.
Huh?
The other students?
Yeah, the other students. Colleagues? How you say? Colleagues, other colleagues. Just imagine, it says in the 7th canto that the Prahlad went to school. accompanied by all these pupils also,
Yes.
yeah, pupils. And they were all coming from demonic families. They never heard such a thing, what that he was preaching to them. Yeah. And then they came to the conclusion that, first of all, they said, let us play with children. No? This is too serious. And then they said, this is for old people. This is for old people. Yeah. Interesting. No? Because we can also see, no? I don't know, in Germany, I haven't been in church for a long time. But in South America, the church is always full of people. No? And mostly, these people who go to church are mostly old people, especially old ladies. Yeah? Old ladies. They have this natural tendency to they're better situated. You know? Whereas men are more speculators, and they don't like to surrender so much or accept concepts that are completely, how you say, sentimental, they say. So, what was the point now? Sorry.
Prahlad.
Yeah, Prahlad. So Prahlad was going to school, and these children, they all came from demonic families. They started arguing like that. And then Prahlad said, no, now, it should be started now. Spiritual life should start from the very beginning. I don't remember the verse, but this is the verse that Prabhupada always uses as the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where that actually spiritual life should start from the very beginning of life. And because Prahlad was Prahlad, he was very convincing. He was not an ordinary child. No, he is actually one of our Mahajans, maximum authorities regarding devotional service. There's 12 Mahajans, and he's one of them. Anyway, so he started preaching to them, and they changed. And they noticed what's happening to our children. And also Hiranyakashipu, at one point, he had Prahlad sit on his, what is that?
Lap.
Yeah, lap. Sitting on his lap. And very, very, very feelingly and very lovingly, he had him there, and he smelled his head. Like, what? Parents do this? And then he said, please, Prahlad, tell me, what is the best thing you learned in school? And then he said, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Parasevanam, Achanam, Bandham, Dasam, Sakyam, Atmini, Vedanam. That hearing about Krishna, glorifying Krishna, and all the 9 principles. This is actually coming from Prahlad Maharaj. And Hiranyakashipu couldn't believe what he was hearing. And actually, and it says Vishnu. Vishnu, one should worship Vishnu. And when he heard that, he was flabbergasted. How flabbergasted? What? Because he had considered Vishnu his greatest enemy. He was great. Why? Because Hiranyaksha, his brother, had been killed by the boar incarnation, by Krishna. Anyway, so he hated everything related to Krishna or to Vishnu. He was a declared enemy of God. So when he heard that from his son, he couldn't believe it. And immediately called the teachers. Nanda and Sunanda, wasn't it? Nanda, Sunanda? Their name? What? Nanda Upama. Ja, du bist ein Experte, du hast dieses Theaterstück, ne? Yeah. He called them and said, what is this? Yeah. And they felt very crazy, I say, they try to get out of the situation, and they say, no, we haven't taught him this. This is Prahlad Maharaj. We don't know where he got this from. No, was it like that? Wasn't it? Yeah. No. So then, he told them, better not teach him things like that. And then again, after a while, he was again with Prahlad Maharaj. And so he actually, it was that time when he said this, he mentioned that verse. And he couldn't believe it, and he kicked him off his,
Lap.
off his lap. Yeah. And then he tried to kill him. But because he was a pure devotee, very dear to Krishna, he was protected. There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, I don't remember that. Yes, I forgot. I had written it down here. Oh, Ananyaschintayantamam yejana payupasa nityabuddham yogakshema vahamiham. Where Krishna says that when somebody is completely absorbed or surrendered to him, he gives him what he needs and he protects what he has. So there was Prabhupada told a story regarding this. He said that there was a Brahmin. What was the name again? Arjunacharya. His name was Arjunacharya. And this Brahmana was writing comments to the verses of the Bhagavad Gita. And he came to this verse, that Krishna personally provides everything to the devotees. And he said, he was thinking, well, that's too much. Why Krishna has to come to give the devotees what they need? So he crossed the word karoshi, that I personally bring what they need. And he wrote karomi. I make sure that it's brought to them, more or less. So then he finished and he went out begging. Brahmanas have the right to ask for charity or for going door to door, not like that. Anyway, so he went out. And then while he was out, two boys appeared in the house of Arjunacharya. And his wife was very surprised, especially they were so beautiful, these two boys. One was darkish and one was whitish. Anyway, so she asked, and they were loaded with boga. They carry the stick with two things on the side. I say
Bags?
Bags. And who made you bring this here? And then the darkish boy said, well, your husband forced us to bring this to your home. And then she asked, but my husband forcing children to do something against their will or something like that? I can't believe this. And then one of the boys said, yes. And he was even chastising me. And he showed his shoulder. There was a mark. A
bruise or?
A bruise. There was a bruise on the shoulder. And she was shocked. Wow, really? Well, let's speak to him. And then the boy said, no, we fear him. And they left. And after a while, and then she started cooking. And because she was thinking of what her husband had done, so she sat down and ate. And Prabhupada explains in this regard, this is something very special. All of a sudden, Arjunacharya appeared and he saw his wife eating already. Because Prabhupada said the tradition or the custom is that first the husband is served and then the lady eats. So he couldn't believe it. What's going on here? And then she said, yeah, you are maltreating, how you say? Mistreating children on the street, forcing them to do things, kind of. And he couldn't believe what she was saying. And then he asked, which children? 2 boys. No, she told him about the boys and all that. And then he asked, describe these boys to me. And then she said, they were extremely beautiful. One was darkish and one was white. And then she went on explaining more details. And then, of course, he understood, oh, Krishna and Balaram came to my home. And then he remembered that he had crossed out the word in the Bhagavad Gita and replaced it with another word. And he realized that this was actually what happened. That Krishna had a bruise on his shoulder. Because Bhagavad Gita is actually not different from Krishna. Anyway, so this is a story that Prabhupada told us to show that actually Krishna is so involved, personally involved with the devotees when they surrender to him. He takes personal care of them. And also that verse that I quoted now here means that when one is actually completely surrendered to Krishna, to his service, completely absorbed, completely Krishna conscious, Krishna personally takes care of the devotees. And he makes sure that they have everything they need. And I remember from the Bible also, there's something like that also. Christ said, what was that? Go out and preach. Without a second shirt, without food, without shelter, and the Father will maintain. Just look at the birds on the field and the lilies. They don't work; they maintained also by the Supreme Father. So Krishna personally takes care of the devotees. And how to come to that platform of pure devotional service? Well, that's not so easy. In other ages, it was very, very complicated. It took a long time and all that, and so it was really complicated. Whereas nowadays, we're very fortunate. This pure devotional service was introduced directly to us by Srila Prabhupada as representative of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is one thing that we all realize, more or less, that when we come to Krishna consciousness and we take up Krishna consciousness very seriously, how incredible it is that we have received that particular thing, which is very difficult normally to achieve after many, many births. Bahunam jamananti gyanavanam papadyanti vasudeva samamiti samahatma sudurava. So it says, I only know it in German, the translation. Wer nach vielen Geburten und Toten wirkliches Wissen erlangt, gibt sich mir hin, da weiß ich die Ursache aller Ursachen, dass ich alles bin. It says that after many, many births, when one achieves real knowledge, surrenders, surrenders to Vasudeva, it says, to God, knowing that God is the cause of all causes. And this normally is, this understanding is achieved only after many, many births. Whereas in Kali Yuga, people are actually very fortunate, but it's not. But on the other side, it's also said in the Bhagavatam that those Sumedasha who have sufficient intelligence, they accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They accepted the process. But by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, no, we have been given this intelligence here, no, in form of the books, no, the teachings that he gave us. Simple process, Krishna consciousness. It's very simple, but because we're Kali Yugeros, we say in Spanish, because we're Kali Yugeros, it's very complicated. The simple things, no, are very complicated because our life has become so complicated. You tell somebody, just chant Hare Krishna and everything will be okay. No, what? No. No, they have so many insurances, and you have to have a health insurance and this insurance and so many things. You have to work. No, most of the people that devotees meet normally on the street, they're working, no, or they go to the university or school or something. No, they can imagine that no, they don't have the time, no, the simplicity to understand or to accept it, just like that. So, no, but when one is fortunate, like our Bhakta here, no, he can spend 3 days just like that. No, is it? No? Yeah, 3 days in the temple. Wow! No? So many people out there, when you tell them, come to the temple, stay, be with us. No, I'm so intense, I have so many obligations, so much responsibility. I can't simply come to the temple and stay. No. So he's very fortunate, and the other one also, very fortunate. You know, he just gave up everything and moved into the temple. So actually, no, just like here, it says that Rishabdev was doing 100 sacrifices, 100 sacrifices, and these sacrifices needed so much paraphernalia. Prabhupada used to say that for these sacrifices, the most important things are 4 classes of brahmanas. Brahmana, first class brahmanas. And Prabhupada used to say, nowadays you can't find these brahmanas anymore. They were existing in Treta Yuga, long ago. 4 brahmanas. There was a brahmana who would chant the mantras properly, very nicely, very expert in chanting. We know from Shastra that at those days, at those times, they were very strict with the pronunciation of the Sanskrit and everything, because it says that when they didn't pronounce properly, they did pronounce it wrongly, they might have created the opposite result. Then there was another brahmana, no, actually many. So brahmanas who was just checking that the mantras were properly pronunciated. And they would immediately call the attention, no, this is not properly pronunciated. Then there was a brahmana who would, prepare the ground for the sacrifice with a special flug. How you say flug in Dutch? Like Baladeva also has this. A plow, with a special plow. They would prepare the ground for the sacrifice. And there was a Brahmin who was expert and igniting fire with mantras. Not like us, we brauchen Feuerzeug, what is that? or Streichhölzer or something like that. Matches, everything. Yeah. He would just sit there and chant, and the fire would be ignited. So where are these brahmanas? Nowadays, our fire sacrifices, sometimes, I don't know here, I don't remember so much anymore here, but I saw in another places they put what is that called? The powder, how do you say this? Yeah, some powder that incinerates, very, very impressive. They use that, and those people are coming for the sacrifice from outside. They're surprised. Wow! All these things, are used. just to impress. No? But actually, from the strict point of view, Vedic point of view, these sacrifices don't have the power to do that. Just like I remember many years back when we opened the temple in Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan, yeah, and we were also there. And Prabhupada had organized the installation in such a way that he had invited many brahmanas from Vrindavan. And brahmanas, respected brahmanas, highly respected brahmanas, to make so that people in Vrindavan would accept it as bona fide. Yeah. So then, I remember they had many fires burning, and they had all these copper wires everywhere. I don't remember what that was. It's something special also. And they were chanting mantras for days. They sacrificed for days. And then finally they installed the deities, and then Prabhupada spoke. First he invited people. No, he had invited important people. I think the major of Vrindavan was also there, and he had them speak first. No? And then Prabhupada spoke. And Prabhupada said something very interesting. He said, actually, we wouldn't have needed all this. We could have installed the deities simply chanting Hare Krishna. But in order to make it more respected, we had to go through all this. Yeah? And Prabhupada mentioned this. And the Bhagavatam, I remember where exactly, where there's a part where it speaks about deity worship. This, he said, just like in Vrindavan. He mentioned this whole thing. That means he kept it documented in his Srimad Bhagavatam. This point. Anyway, so most of us know this verse from the Bhagavatam where it says that this ocean, this Kali Yuga is like an ocean of faults, but there's a Mahaguna, there's one special quality in the Kali Yuga, and this is the Sankirtan Yagya, and the chanting of the holy names. Yeah, all the other processes do not have the same potency anymore. Before they were very potent. I even heard that when they were making the yagyas, these deities would appear personally to receive their oblations. There was not like today. Hare Krishna. Any question?
Oblations?
Huh?
What was the last sentence?
Yeah, they would accept, like it says here, even mentioned even here, prasad.
No, I mean about the sacrifices, that it's nowadays not working like that, and then there was another sentence. Just at the end.
They would accept their oblations.
What is an oblation?
Their offerings.
Okay.
Any questions? Hast du eine Frage?
Nein.
Nee, sah so aus. You want to say something?
Myself?
Yeah.
No, I think you said a lot. It was very nice. I like listening to you.
Sorry?
I said, I think you said a lot. It was very nice, and I like listening. I like to listen to you. Your classes.
Hare Krishna. So then we stop. See no questions. Most enough a song. Bitte? Ja. Und dir ist alles klar, ne? Ah?
Das nicht, aber.
Yeah, as time passes, no, in our spiritual life, this is one thing that, like I mentioned, that we more and more appreciate what and realize what we actually got. In the beginning, it was just some kind of, go to the temple to eat, and be with devotees and chant a little bit with them, because they liked it. Yeah, we had no taste. We liked to dance and all that, but I saw the devotees actually first time dancing when Prabhupada came to Hamburg. Yeah. Before that, we were not dancing. We were just sitting, and some in yoga, how you say, postures like that. Like Shivananda, he was the first devotee who came from America. He was preaching, but it was difficult to understand what he was saying because he tried to speak in German, and it was almost impossible to understand what he was saying, kind of. So we were all just sitting there and hearing, and we liked the atmosphere. The atmosphere also was very, very special. And the devotees were very impressive. They were actually very, very serious about this whole thing, It was not something, I say in English, something that would just go away again, like a fashion or something like that. And then gradually, we became more, we were initiated even. At that time, initiation was a different thing. It was not comparable with today.
How's that?
How was that? We were in the temple a few days, we were initiated. Yeah, I actually mentioned in the Lilami, in the Prabhupada, what is that again? Die offizielle Version des Lebens von Prabhupada. Lilamrita, Prabhupada Lilamrita. Yeah, it's mentioned there that they were initiated, and they heard, all of a sudden they heard, no meat eating, no this, Yamuna actually tells us, during the initiation, what? No? Same thing in Germany also. I moved into the temple. I had just been most a week or something like that. I knew the devotees, but I didn't move in. And I had moved in, and all of a sudden devotees said, Prabhupada is coming, Prabhupada is coming. And Prabhupada came after a week that I was in the temple. And then there were initiations, kind of, yeah. And they didn't even tell me to shave, so I got initiated with long hair. And when I was initiated, Prabhupada looked at me and looked at the devotees and kind of, at least this should have been done or explained before, kind of, yeah. And then Prabhupada looked at me and he said, well, I think I mentioned this already before. Then Prabhupada said, you either shave or you leave your hair like this. And there was a picture of the Panchatattva. Yeah, long hair. And Prabhupada said, either shave or long, but not touching the hair anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah? Not just kind of, yeah. Yeah, and then we were initiated. And I had given up everything and moved into the temple, and all of a sudden the devotees told me, get a job now. We need money for the rent. And I got a job at, what is that, Springerpresse. Yeah? Before, we went on the street and we were throwing stones at the Springer Hochhaus in Hamburg. Yeah? Demonstrations. We went there, ho, ho, Ho Chi Minh, ho, ho, Ho Chi Minh. No? This was the leader of Vietnam at that time. Yeah. And then we passed by the Springer Hochhaus and threw stones at the windows. Yeah? Like that. And all of a sudden, they told me, now you have to work, get a job. No? So the only job I found was a springer, you know. And I had to work in the post department, where the posts were coming in, and I had to put the things in the boxes, respective boxes, you know, kind of. Yeah. And Shivananda sold Bildzeitung. He went to, he had a hat even, they gave him a hat, and he sold Bildzeitung. You know? And somebody else was working in the Botanischen Garten, you know, like getting the weeds out and all this stuff. Yeah. This was our understanding. We didn't have this understanding that Hare Krishna, no, that Krishna will maintain us. And then Prabhupada, when Prabhupada heard that, that was a later time. Again, we had started working because we had so much debt. The temple had so much debt. We had more than 10,000 marks. That was for us was astronomical. I say, that kind of. Yeah. So we also, and then Prabhupada stopped us. He said, "Don't go and work. Go on the street and chant Hare Krishna. Sankirtan." So we all went on the street to do our Sankirtan, chanting up and down, Springer, in the main streets in Hamburg. We became famous at that time. And then all of a sudden, a new Bhakta came. He was an Italian. A young boy came to the temple, and he joined. And he had a bank account, saving account, 8,000, and he gave it. Like Bhagavan told us not to work. Even though we had debts, just chant Hare Krishna and wow, this was a heavy realization. Wow. No, we did what Prabhupada wanted, and all of a sudden somebody comes, and we paid the debt with it, kind of. Kannst du das alles verstehen? Ja, okay. Srila Prabhupada ki.